Welcome back to Mike's Miniatures, the place for all things mini wargaming. And in today's video, we are going to be doing a mini hobby night right here for you. And so for today, I've got this sped up so you don't have to watch this for a long period of time. But today we're going to be putting together the heavy intercessors from my new box, the Strike Force Agastus, that my lovely wife purchased for me. So here we go. We got the instructions all pulled out, and I'm just gathering up the hobby tools. You'll need your sprue nippers right there, scissors, got my hobby knife. Got a mold line scraper in case we have some very bad mold lines, and of course the handy dandy super glue to put the model together. And then I got a couple of tweezers for the very fiddly bits to help me get them in place here, and obviously have a prepared work surface with my thing. Right now we're going to first do the sergeant, and just as some of his following steps, and then we have the heavy bolter right there on top, and then the next few little intercessors right here, making that entire squad. But back to that sergeant model here. Here's the sprue with all 5 of them on there. Now it comes to the point where I just need to pick out what I want to do. I know with the rifles I want those circular drum kits right here. But here's the main body for the sergeant, and we just start clipping them out. And then you just go and you start, after I've clipped them out, any extra sprue bits that are just hanging off the edge and mold lines, I just use my hobby knife and just start cutting and scraping those off. You'll see me do this quite a bit throughout the video here. And then always, before you glue anything down, try to dry fit the model to see if it'll fit together, and if you need to scrape any more, then comes the super glue, and we're just very, very lightly, this is a very flowy super glue, just put a very thin bead down and then just stick them together. Sometimes if you have them too thin, it doesn't want to stay and it will want to leak out, but there you go. Up next, I want to do the variant with the blue where he's pointing, so we'll be cutting out those arm bits here, but first the instructions say to cut out the feet. So there we go. Back to the hobby knife, remove any of the extra stuff that my sprue snips didn't remove. Very fiddly bit there, so you have to be very careful and support it with both fingers. Make sure that's nice and flat. And then dry fit on the leg. It's nice because it had multiple points of contact, so I could just do the multiple spots of glue and just press it together and let it dry. On to the next leg. Got the body together. Cap that glue so it doesn't leak. Okay, now here's where we pick the arms again. I like the one where he was pointing, so now it's just finding them on the sprue. There's the pointer arm and there's the gun arm. So now we just snip them off. And kind of gauge the angle in the best way, because the sprue snips have a flat side and a not so flat side, so you want to have the flat side up against the model. There's the shoulder pad that we needed, because the one arm already has the shoulder pad molded on, the other one doesn't, so we had to clip off the correct one. Clean up the part where it was connected to the sprue. Same for the arms. Then drilling out the barrel. I didn't have my drill bit set, the mini one, so I just used the point of my knife, lined it up in the center, and just kind of did a circular motion, drill it out. And you don't want to go too far, and you got to be very careful, because if that slips, there goes a finger. Nobody likes that feeling. And fixing up some mold lines with the mold line scraper. There we go. And we do the same thing with the pointing hand. And then it's just dry fit to see how they will fit onto the body. And I like how it looks. Add my glue. Pop that on. And just hold it there for what feels like a very, very long time when you have not wanting to sit there and wait for glue to dry or watch paint dry, which is a terrible thing to have when you're in this hobby, because that's like half the hobby when you're not putting things together, is waiting for paint to dry or glue to dry. Okay, now that arm was basically on, make sure I've got the mold lines off of that. And time for the pointer. Guy telling the squad, go that way or shoot that way. And the fun begins. There we go. And now for the shoulder pad, that arm needed the shoulder pad. We just line that up with a little glue, pop it in, and let it dry. That's how we got the majority of the body. Now from here, we're wanting to pick the head and then the backpack. It's pretty self-explanatory. So find the head that you want. Now this kit comes with two styles of head. There's one where he's got the full scoped helmet, and then the one where he's got like a little bit of the helmet kind of missing, so you can have his head like totally turning at a more turned position, or you could do the helmetless heads that the box art typically has. And why would you have a leader or troops going into battle without wearing their helmets? That is so dumb. So I went with the full helmet, had it only at a slight angle, and that's where I'm going to do every single one of my Marines that I plan to play with and do battle. They will all be wearing their helmets regardless of rank, because why would your leaders or anybody else not have their helmets on? That is just silly. Okay, the backpack, cut off and trimming off those mold lines. And being a circular surface, it's a little bit hard, so I had to use my little thing to help make sure I got all those mold lines off. And then the backpack was super simple. It literally had lines telling you exactly where to go. So just follow the rim, line up the line, and pop. Whoop. And wait for the glue to dry before holding it on by the backpack. But that's the main body right there. Then it's using my mold line scraper to get rid of any of the mold lines that I missed on the legs, on the arms, on the body. It's especially where they're going to be super visible once I put the primer or paint down on them. Helmet fell off, so I had to add a little bit more glue because apparently it didn't add. I added a little too little. And then using my tweezers to help organize it. There you go. And from here we have decorations and belt pouches that you can do with the model. I decided to kind of follow the box art and do this combat knife with some ammo pouches, and then adding a little bullet detail that it said to do with it. So here's me just trying to find where that bullet detail was. There's a lot of these parts that are super duper tiny, and you just gotta find them on the sprue. They are clearly labeled, so as you can see right there by my thumb, there's like a purity seal, and that is a tiny, tiny piece, but it takes up so much space. And then there's the bullet right there. See, very, very tiny. So I went and I trimmed that off. Trying to figure out the angle to trim it off. And then we had the gun as well. I believe yep, that's the gun piece in the holster, handgun. Cleaning off the mold lines and the sprue bits, especially on the bullet one, the decorative bullet. That was very difficult for me to do. That's why it's a little bit off camera, because I had to get it really close to my eye. But there we go. And then from here, it's just finding the spots to glue them on. I did a little bit of off camera trying to fit and using my tweezers to help guide them into place. Make sure we don't have too much overspillage with glue. I typically try to put things in with my hand first, and then if my hand can't reach in, because I don't have very thin fingers, that's when I'll use my tweezers. And then there you go, we just add a little bit more glue because it's a super wet flowing super glue. It usually helps, it'll seep into the cracks and connect. I'm putting his gun pouch on the very back so he can reach behind him and draw. Using the tweezers to get it right up onto the belt. And then this was the most difficult one right here, is finding that spot. Oh, no, we're still on the gun. Oop, not enough glue. Line it up, let it dry. That's always the hardest part, is just letting it dry. If I don't move quickly and the glue dries while I'm placing it, then I have to add more glue. But if I add too much glue, then it just slips and slides and does all over and doesn't even stick. Okay, there's the bullet. Right there on the belt is where they want it. Use my tweezers. And this set of tweezers was giving me a little bit of a problem. So I switched to the other tweezers that have a slightly better grip after I attempt with my finger. And just line that up. Tap, tap. There we go. Okay, so rather than have you go through all of them, this is the squad put together, and that's all the extra sprue bits that we have. So there's my sergeant. There's the heavy bolt rifle. We have our guy running into battle. We have our guy shooting in battle. And we have our guy that's just standing guard. But this has been the video on how to put together the heavy intercessor group. I hope you guys have enjoyed that and enjoy some of these still photos of these guys. this was a very fun project, and I'm using these models as basically the support unit and bodyguard unit of my custom chapter army for the crusade that we're playing in, the Argent Templars. With them, my chapter master can only lead other Gravis unit models, so these guys are Gravis models and can follow him around and provide him with that extra cover and shooty abilities here. But anyways, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Miniatures. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And down in the description, I'm going to have an affiliate link with Amazon that you can use to help support the channel, to get a box of these heavy intercessors for yourself. And maybe even if you do get those, send me pictures and that so I can see your progress. But until next time, bye bye.